Hear me? All right. The obviously the conversation is about the burial of Malcolm. Help the audience understand the what your father what the parameters of what was going on at the time frame that led your father to be the one to perform the janazah of the late great Al-Hajj Malika Shabazz.
Yes, as you know, at that particular time, the Nation of Islam was definitely a very strong presence in the Newark, New Jersey area, and my father, being the national imam for the Dinarat Universal Arabic Association, and also the local imam in one of the masjids in Elizabeth, we know about their presence and so forth. And one thing is very interesting that when we used to view Malcolm Hajj Malik Shabazz when he was actually a part of the NOI, he was a thorn in our side. He was a very profound, charismatic speaker, and he was actually we call hindering the Muslims or the people from coming into Sunni Islam, and that was a problem. And when he embraced, Sunni Islam, that was a great relief, and a great sign for the Muslims. And not only that, he was a Hajj. At that particular time, to be a Hajj was like a second Shahada, because you could not go to Mecca unless you was actually Orthodox or Sunni Muslim. And you have to be interrogated to make sure that, you were correct in your understanding about Islam. So when Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz made the pilgrimage, he joined what we consider the Muslim Ummah. And we was elated, and we was very, very pleased to have him, part of our community. And but it didn't go very well with the other side. He was viewed as a traitor, and there was a lot of tension in the society and so forth and so on. And upon his assassination, that tension escalated. And as you know, Muhammad, the brothers and Elizabeth, answered the call. They had a meeting, with one of the elders, Hajj Hassan, who was one of the first Hajjis to make Hajj, indigenous in America. And by default, I would say that being that my father was all in that position, he was selected amongst the group to perform the janazah. However, it was a group effort, because security was of utmost importance because of the ongoing threats. Anyone approached the body of our fallen martyr would, be actually chastised. So yeah, definitely.
I remember Sister Latifa when we were doing the edits on this, telling us about the phone calls and the threats that she was getting in that time. Do you remember those?
Oh yes, definitely. It was an ongoing situation, and not even after the burial. It didn't stop up until the janazah. Of course, it took a week for the body to actually be claimed and actually shrouded, and washed, shrouded, and interned. However, those threats was continuous, and it just created a high alert, until the tension, went down, and that was one reason why we were restricted from coming into New Jersey. As you know, Muhammad, we came in as, like we turned 12, 13, you see another son of Hesham Jaaber pop up, we used to play ball on the court there.
Right.
And that was because, it wasn't a safe haven, and my father didn't think it was a safe haven to have, his family right there in the midst of all of that, and the riots and things was evolving at the same time. So it wasn't a healthy situation in his opinion for us,
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, and that's the thing is the people really don't play that time what was happening prior to even Malcolm being assassinated. If you look at the videos where he's talking about going to different cities and them, from the nation or different people were trying to kill him. Mm-hmm. People keep talking about when he went abroad, of course, because the actions that Malcolm was doing were stopping everybody's money. Mm-hmm. Internationally, the things that he was doing, were going to African nations and sitting down with them and trying to do direct deals. He was actually continuing what Marcus Garvey was doing, extending it, but he had the direct contact with these leaders. Mm-hmm. So people talk about what was going on there, but back here, in Jersey, or back in Jersey, and back in the United States, there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of tension that was going on. So for these men to not fear that, like reading the book where they said when it happened, they said my brother's been martyred, you know, and even today people even scared to even, you know, refer, like, do we have permission to call him a martyr, you know? And like you said, you know, this type of ideology, but it's beautiful to hear these brothers instantly accepting this Islam, understanding what it takes to become a Muslim, and then taking it and then putting their life on the line. Like you said, you had children. These men had children, and they knew that there was a possibility of them, you know, attempting to assassinate them in doing that, and they stepped forward. So this is beautiful.
Yeah, and especially your dad, right, Haji Sham. When I mean, you know, with Malcolm off the scene and your father stepping forward, word was going around in the community that he was attempting to be the next Malcolm, and if he was going to be the next Malcolm as it relates to a leader, that he was going to be the next martyr.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Am I right?
You're right. You're definitely right about that, because, like you said, you know, we had, my father always said that, you know, we was waiting on Malcolm to come over, you know, and when he came over, you know, it was short-lived then. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, the Islamic, you know, movement, you know, was under scrutiny, you know, and there was barriers and hurdles and obstacles placed in front of them to stop their growth. And as you know, as children growing up, we had a village named after Professor Muhammad Jaaber, the actual founder of the AAUAA, and we was actually being cultivated, you know, and cultivated in the Islamic, you know, paradigm at a very early age, and they knew the dynamics that could come out of that, and having someone like Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz to come on as a mouthpiece, you know, and would you know, escalate, you know, what we was trying to accomplish, and also be able to redirect all of those people we had under his leadership, who was following him when he was in the NOI. So we saw that my father being able to pick up those pieces, and in fact, as you know, a lot of brothers and sisters as well, as they evolved, you know, and they made that transition out of the Nation of Islam, they came into our communities, you know, in large numbers, because when you look at their background and their first encounter with Islam, you know, I would say about maybe 60% had an encounter with the NOI. So that transition from Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, you know, martyrdom, and, you know, my father, you know, being, you know, the liaison to actually continue, you know, to orientate and to actually bring those brothers back into, you know, the right understanding of Islam was definitely a challenging issue.